Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 8 at Keeneland on opening day Friday. It's the Grade 2 Jessamine. We're going a mile and a 16th on the turf for 2-year-old fillies. Let's take a look at this field. $350,000 is the purse. Prep race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Full field of 11 and just a wide open race. You can make a case for 5 or 6 or 7.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of different horses can win here. Trips will be, pretty important in this race too, Dan. I don't really have a good sense of how they're going to bet it, although I guess I won't argue with the 2 Time to Dazzle being the morning line favorite. This horse was very good winning first time out, and she's fastest on the way in.
Very professional as well and tactical, and we'll see where she is on our Time Form US pace projector. And you see she has the LP flag over her number 2 Chicklet, which means that she has the fastest Time Form US late pace rating. The 5 Tupi is stretching out. She's got plenty of speed. Bella Hayes is also fast out of there, and it'll be interesting to see if the 1 Smooth Waves can keep up, because she sort of pressed slower fractions last time out at Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, Smooth Waves has the rail advantage here, though. So if she breaks well, she can just sort of run to that first turn and secure her position there. Even if she doesn't make the lead, she could still fall into a really good trip.
Smooth Waves scored 4th time out in this race we're going to show you. This is the race at Kentucky Downs. And while she does it very impressively, the thing that worried me is just where's the other running going on behind her? Smooth Waves has this horse on the lead basically beat right here. That horse is going to hold on, I think, for second with nothing coming behind them. Smooth Waves did look good in the stretch, earned a 76 buyer. Maybe this English Channel filly just needed a few races to figure it out and some distance.
Yeah, that's certainly a valid way to look at her, Dan. Although I sort of had the same concerns that you did about this race. She looks good winning. Nobody else really looks that good in this race. And then you have the fact that it's at Kentucky Downs, which, who knows what happens there. And then she also ran 3 times before that. I didn't really like any of those races. I mean, the sprints I don't care about because maybe she doesn't want to sprint. But that race at Saratoga, she ran fine in there, but that's not a performance I would be wanting to bet her back off of.
Time to Dazzle, the number 2, is a not this time filly that made her debut going a 1-turn mile at Woodbine, and she broke well. I think she could have made the lead, but they decided to keep her in behind horses. The trip worked out beautifully. She gets to the outside, she goes right by this leader, and she just does everything right.
Yeah, she does. And she's the only first time starter in this field, too. Everybody else had already had at least 1 race, and she looked like the professional. Because you're right, Dan, she could have made the lead in here. Her rider actually took her under a big hold to make sure she didn't take the lead in here. Now, this is another race where it kind of looks like, she set a perfect trip. She runs by the leader. Nobody else does anything in that field. So, who knows how good of a race that actually was. But she got a figure for it. She looked good winning.
Moonlight Gambler is still a maiden, but you have to note the progression from start 1 to 2. In her debut, like many first-time starters, she just kind of fell behind early in a 2-turn race. She finished up nicely. She showed better tactical speed second time out. She was able to get up for second behind Pharaoh's Wine, who's also in this race. And if this pace comes apart, I've seen worse 30-1 shots on paper get up and score.
I have too. I don't, necessarily love that she's a maiden running in this race, Dan, but her debut was certainly a useful experience for her. She ran well last time. The winner of that race, who's also back in here, was really impressive winning. And this filly she got a good trip overall, but she had to alter course in the stretch to get way out into the clear, and she ran at the end.
There's the chance that the biggest mistake in my handicapping in this race is that I downgraded the 4 Crown Imperial too much. She's run 5 times in her career. She's hit the board in all of her starts. And this race last time out, going 6.5 in Kentucky, was pretty impressive. I know she got a very fast pace. They went a sub-21 opening quarter mile, but Ricardo Santana shows a lot of confidence in this 2-year-old filly. Going to alter her course down to the inside, looking for some room. The hole's going to materialize. She's going to split, and she stays about her business.
Yeah, I sort of look at it the same way you do, though, Dan. I sort of have her downgraded a little bit too, and I won't knock the races that she's run so far, especially on the grass. She wins pretty easily here. Boy, did she get a great trip in this race, though. And I'm not sure that this is the greatest field in the world, despite the big purse there. The runner-up was a horse who was first-time turf off of a terrible performance in a stakes race on dirt. The third-place finisher was right off of a maiden win. I don't know, man. Her races are fine. I like other horses in here.
Tupi might be the best 2-year-old filly I've seen in Maryland this year. She can be a real grouch in the preliminaries, in the paddock, the warm-ups, behind the gate. She was super impressive for Graham Motion first time out. Graham's not a guy that usually has him cranked up to win like that. And then on turf, second time out against the boys, she faced, in my opinion, the best 2-year-old turf sprinter in the country in George Weaver's no-name Mets. And Tupi went after that horse before being turned back. She finished ahead of 3 next out winners in this race. And now it's all about whether she can get the trip. I think she's bred for it.
Yeah, this is a Judmont female family on the bottom, Dan, and it's nothing but distance. And there's a ton of turf down there as well. So I'm not going to worry about the stretch out. Her debut was really good. She ran fine last time. She was never going to beat that 1-5 favorite. She was clearly second best.
Abeyance is the number 6, going out for Godolphin and Owen Hardy, who found the right spot for the turf debut second time out. These American Pharaohs can step on the turf, and Abeyance was able to get right to the lead, showed much better speed on the stretch out, and was just too much for this field at odds on. She looked good doing it. It's a good confidence boost. She got a respectable figure. Now she steps way up in class.
Yeah, had an easy trip in this race, but she never gave this field a chance behind her. The figure suggests that she's a contender in this race, too. Another horse with plenty of pedigree behind her. She might get a little bit overlooked in this race. I'm not going to knock her.
Bella Hayes, the number 7, made her turf debut in a stakes race at Kentucky Downs, fresh off of a maiden win on dirt sprinting at Ellis Park. Let's watch this performance for Bella Hayes, who got to the lead, was able to shake clear early. I have a feeling, though, that this runner-up Austere is pretty good, Mike, and Austere is going to kick Bella Hayes down in the final 16th.
Yeah, she's not just not going to be any match for this horse late. It's another horse who got relatively loose on the lead in this race. The fractions are pretty fast, but she was loose, and she's just no match. You can see the winner here is just going to run right by her in the stretch here. She will hang on for second. I think she's got to improve.
Big, good-looking filly, however, by Flame Away with tactical speed. I think the 2 turns is going to be just fine for the 7 Bella Hayes, who retains the services of Joel Rosario. Pharaoh's Wine is next, another one coming off of a victory at Kentucky Downs. Here's her win last time out, where she held off the late flurry of Moonlight Gambler. Another one, she got right up close to the pace in here. She set sights on the leader, and she's eventually going to go right on by.
Yeah, she's just going to flat overpower this horse on the lead. And it's worth noting, too, that she conceded the lead to that horse early, because this horse could have been on the front. They just took a hold of her, sat in the pocket. She always looked like she was going to win. Look at this run through the stretch, though. I mean, she doesn't change her lead, but she is powering away from this field. And that's Moonlight Gambler, who's also running well into second. I thought they both ran really well in here.
Dale Romans trains this daughter of American Pharaoh. Appellate number 9 is cross-entered in the Miss Grillo on Wednesday in New York. We'll see where Todd Pletcher decides to run. 2 starts, 2 runner-up efforts, 2 close runner-up efforts. Here's the last one at Saratoga. Javier Castellano got her right up close to a moderate pace in this race, and she just can't forge by, finishing second. The 4th-place finisher came back, earned a 70 by her on dirt.
She's run well in both of her starts. She's had good trips in both of those races too, though, and just couldn't quite get it done at the end. Drops 2 photo finishes as they come down to the wire in her 2 races. She's run fine, Dan. She has really good tactical speed. If she runs here, she's obviously a horse that you have to consider. I would probably look elsewhere.
I think Buku's a little bit of a sleeper in here, the number 10 for an extremely underrated trainer in Phil Bauer. This horse had some traffic issues, 2 starts back at Saratoga against Memorialize, who's running in one of those stakes races in New York earlier this week. And that horse has a lot of potential. She then was able to get up close to a moderate pace last time out. The trip worked out beautifully for her last time out at Churchill, but she really strode home nicely.
Man, it was probably a good time to have her at over 4-1 odds, too, because she had enough trouble in the turf debut, 2 starts back. She wasn't going to win that race, but she had enough trouble in that race to feel like it's a better performance than it looks, and she could have been a lot closer at the end. She just dominated that field last time.
The 11 Esternia likely to be hustled out of this far outside post position from Julian Leperoux, coming off of a win at Kentucky Downs in her turf debut, going 6.5 furlongs. She was able to really back down the pace on the backstretch here, and I think that was key, because she's just going to be able to hold off the runner-up.
Yeah, considering her running style too in those first 2 races, sprinting, this outside post is really, really tough for her, because she just wants to come out of there running and try to be part of this pace. They're going to have to use her from the outside.
But watching her in the stretch here, once she changed lead, she showed a little bit of acceleration, and she's pretty game to get to the wire first. I am concerned that the pace scenario will be faster for her as she stretches out around 2 turns. Top pick time for just a wide open edition of the Jessamine. I'd have to spread in any kind of multiple race race wagers. You're going with the 8 Pharaoh's Wine Mike, a horse that just was a very professional and tactical horse. And those kind of horses are good bets in these turf races where trip so often is the determining factor.
Yeah, agreed. I think the trip could be there for her. That's one of the reasons I like her. I just thought I know it's a Kentucky Downs race and they're sort of tough to evaluate, Dan. But I just thought she looked really good winning last time. And it's not like the prior turf race, the first time they stretched out. It's not like that was a bad performance. That pace was a little bit faster than it looks on paper, and she held for second.
I wish I liked Smooth Waves' other races better. She obviously ran a lot better last time out. I wish some of the forces she was in against ran better that day, but she does seem to have tactical speed. Maybe she just needed a few starts to get into her own, but I'm going to need her to drift off of that morning line. I'll need 5 or 6 to 1, and I'm not sure I'm going to get it off that last fig. 8-4-2-10 for Mike, 110-2-6 for me. The grade 2 Jessamine, a prep for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. Good luck.